Thank you all for being here today. My name is Tanya Titus. I am an undocumented immigrant. I am a monologist in Motus's Undocu America series and the National Outreach and Education Director for Motus Theater, where we create original theater to facilitate dialogue on critical issues of our time. We use the power of art to build alliances across diverse segments of our community. One of Motus's strategies to strengthen our community and country is to present performances where we ask people who are often in positions of public leadership in our communities and country to stand in the shoes of an undocumented person or a formerly incarcerated Motus monologist and read our story aloud. The readers don't need to agree with everything they read in the story. They just need to be willing to suspend judgment, model courageous empathy, and see the world for a moment through someone else's eyes. Tonight is the second in our performance series. 2 weeks ago, the Just Us monologists told their own story to help us all more deeply understand the impact of the criminal justice system so we can reflect and take action. These monologues were created in a Motus monologue workshop in collaboration with Motus's artistic director, Kirsten Wilson. In the second performance today, leaders in law enforcement and prosecution whose actions and policies impact how the criminal justice system works are joining Motus's Just Us monologists to read aloud their stories and reflect on the impact of reading that story. And then the formerly incarcerated monologists will reflect on the impact of having their story read aloud by someone in law enforcement. Earlier in the evening, the Just Us monologists and the readers got together so the monologists could read their story aloud to the law enforcement reader. And now the law enforcement leaders will read these stories back to the monologists. In between each monologue, we have the pleasure of listening to the musical medicine of the a cappella group Spirit of Grace of Flowbot's fame. You may have heard them sing the national anthem at the Nuggets game this fall. They have chosen short musical responses to honor each monologist that they hope will inspire the storytellers and keep us all moving forward to support true justice. Following the presentation and reflections will be a short Q&A with you listening to the monologists and readers. So tonight, we're honored to have Just Us monologists Juaquin Mobley, Dereck Bell, and Daniel Guillory with us, and the law enforcement leaders who will step into their shoes for a moment by reading aloud their stories: Commander David Self of the Lafayette Police Department, Boulder County District Attorney Michael Dougherty, and Captain Corey Pass of the Estes Park Police Department. We're going to begin, but first I'll put in the chat a link to support Motus Theater. We did not charge tickets to this event, but we think that after hearing our stories, you will want to support our work so we can bring these stories to schools, theaters, churches, and communities across Colorado and our country. And without further ado, Motus monologist Juaquin Mobley.
Peace, light, and love, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your busy night to listen to us. I would like to be grounded and dedicate this reading to all of my friends and colleagues that are still incarcerated through the COVID-19 and still trying to find their way out. And now Commander David Self will read my autobiographical monologue entitled Unhireable. Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you, Joaquin. Good evening, everybody. I hope everyone is safe and well as can be in this crazy year. As mentioned, my name is David. I'm the patrol commander for the Lafayette Police Department here in Boulder County, Colorado. Very excited. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me. I only wish we could all be meeting in person at this time, but we all know it's just not possible in this crazy COVID climate. It's just not safe, but perhaps down the road another time. So I just spent a handful of minutes with an amazing person who had a very powerful story to share with me. I'm about to share that same story with you, but it's a story, some challenge, frustration, and pain. But I also found it to be a story of courage, tenacity, determination, and hope. I think at the end, Joaquin should be very proud. I'm truly moved by the last several minutes I had with Joaquin, and I think you will be as well. This participation I've dedicated to the closest thing I've ever had to a father. His first name is Dick. I know he'd be proud. And I want to see if I can make Juaquin proud right now. So if you guys are ready, we'll go ahead and get started. Juaquin Mobley's autobiographical monologue, Unhireable. It's late fall 2002, and I am 18 years old, full of strength and light. I tripped all the way from Washington Heights in Manhattan to Flushing, Queens, the last stop on the 7 train. Down to my last, I traveled to Home Depot to be interviewed for a job. Filled with hope and cloaked in desperation, I walked in to meet my potential new employer. His name was Sheldon. We interviewed and I killed it. I mean, I killed it. I'm sure Sheldon felt my hunger. I detected his Caribbean accent and I tried to find common ground, being that my father was from that part of the world and I, too, was raised in that culture of hard work. He bought in on me working there. He told me how much I was going to love the job and then I would make good money. Sheldon then took my social security number and stepped behind his desk to run it through his system. I would not let myself feel anything but confident as he typed the 9 digits that would determine my possibilities. I insisted on the image of him returning to me with his hand held out, ready to shake, and that I would return to my abuela with the reassurance of a new job. I had to. Earlier that morning, the stakes had been raised. I had been startled awake, the sounds of bachata music, sobbing, police, sirens, and the soft conversation between 2 individuals outside my building discussing the terms and condition of the pre-purchase of narcotics. But those sounds are not what woke me. The noise of my neighborhood had become my background music, and in a weird way, it helped me sleep better. I could usually drown out even the loudest of those sounds, but that morning had been different. Something was wrong. There was no sweet, beautiful aroma of fried yuca eggs and onions that made my abuela make for me and my abuelo every morning, nor did I hear the sound of Telemundo coming underneath my bedroom door. When I opened the door to my room, still halfway asleep, I discovered that that sobbing sound that I had grown immune to was coming not from outside, but from our family living room. It was my abuela who was sobbing. I ran to her side and kneeled down in front of her. ¿Qué estás pasando, abuela? She handed me 2 letters, one from my abuelo, stating that he would not receive his Social Security for another year, and another from public housing informing my grandparents that because I was on probation for a felony drug conviction, I had to leave my home for my entire family would be evicted. It's amazing what a day brings and takes from us in our poverty-stricken communities. Just the night before, I had a feeling of stability and hope. After all, I had an actual interview for a job. Do you know how many applications an 18-year-old Black man has to fill out before they can even get an interview? It was going to happen. My baby's mothers needed money for diapers and food, and I was going to have it. But now, looking at those letters and my abuela sobbing, the challenge was overwhelming. I didn't need just enough money to support my kids and to start college. I now needed enough for rent, a security deposit, and utilities, or hold the possibility of being homeless. And I had to figure out how to help my abuela pay her rent with no Social Security coming in. So once again, despite the vision that I had gathered for myself in jail of getting a job, making it to college, and staying out of the drug game, I was having to consider going back into it and possibly risking my freedom and my life. In the last year, I had already lost 2 friends, murdered over rivalry for selling territory. Trying to stay strong for my abuela, I kissed her and I walked away to prepare for my interview at Home Depot. In a state of mind, one now heavy with threat and despair. But you can't let people see that and think they will hire you. I showered and I dressed, and I used every item of clothing I put on to build me up, to regain my hope so I could get on that train and feel it all somehow working out. So there I was sitting in Sheldon's office, practically praying when his head finally reemerged from behind his computer screen. But by just looking at his face, I could tell immediately that everything had changed. I was now dead to him, or at least untouchable. He wouldn't even look at me. The numbers had rolled out, and I was officially unhireable. I started talking fast, trying to regain my ground. I told him I could be on a probation period or something like that, but I needed this job to take care of my kids. I shared what I was up against economically. He was unmoved, and his response to my sob story was just, sorry. But I was not going home without a job. Please, Sheldon, listen. I'm trustworthy. I'm an honorable man. I'm asking for a shot, an opportunity, and a chance. He just looked at me, impervious to what I was going through, and asked that I leave the premises. I left, not only the premises, but New York. My mom lived out in Colorado Springs, and I hoped to find work through her connections and stay out of the drug game. When I got to Colorado, I was surrounded by job offers in the community, none of them legal. Did you know that according to the Brookings Institute, a Black man without a criminal record is less likely to get called back for a job than a white man who checked the felony box? I went to prison in 2006, and I was given twice the time for the same crime as the two white men who went up in front of the judge before me. That startled me awake. Even more than the cries of my abuela, I was awake and angry with the injustice of it, and fierce with an intention of alchemy. To take all the steel, concrete, brutality, and disregard they gave me as a DOC number 147388 and turn it into my armor. I may have to fight to survive, but I will not be your entertainment. I am not your victim, and I will not let you make me your victim. Every day, I gave myself a new challenge to help me keep my focus and sanity. First, I built up my chest and biceps. Then, I learned how to read and write in the language of my abuelos, Spanish. After that, I learned to read Arabic, the language of the Black leaders in prison who were resisting with self-respect, self-love, and prayer. I re-enrolled in college and got several certifications despite all the obstacles to getting my education in prison. And even with this arsenal of strengths, it was hard to stay out of prison when I was finally released. They let me out with just $10 in my pocket, no fresh clothes, and no hope. I almost didn't make it, despite my nearly 10 years preparing for that moment, but I did. And now I work to support other people coming out of our prison system, guiding them as they take the skills they learn in illegal economies and transform them into entrepreneurs with legal opportunities. Because this system wastes our brilliance. Thank you.
Thank you, Joaquin and David. And now Spirit of Grace will sing their musical response to Joaquin's story.
Joaquin, it's so beautiful that you have turned your tragedy into a miracle, helping others, changing lives. Even though the things that were brought against you were meant for evil, they have been turned into good.
Mi amor, mi mundo, mi corazón, qué fuerte, qué lindo.
We love you, Joaquin, and we hear you.
It ain't over until God says it's over. It ain't over until God says it's done. No, it ain't over until God says it's over. Keep trying till your victory is won. It ain't over until God says it's over. It ain't over until God says it's done. No, 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 it ain't over until God says it's over. Keep trying till your victory is won. I feel like I can make it. The storm is over now.
Thank you. And now, Motus monologist Dereck Bell.
Hello, my name is Dereck Bell, one of the JustUs Motus monologists. At this moment, Boulder County DA Michael Dougherty will be reading my autobiographical monologue. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you and your families are doing okay during this difficult time. I am honored, humbled, and grateful to be with you tonight. I wish we could be together in person. And in fact, the first time I had the opportunity and privilege of partnering with Dereck Bell and reading his story was last summer when Dereck, the JustUs Monologists, and I and others gathered at a hotel in Denver for a restorative justice and diversion conference. And some of our folks from the district attorney's office had helped put together the conference. We have a restorative justice and diversion unit here that we rely on heavily to help people get back on the right track and to make sure that we're not engaging in over-incarceration. And Dereck and I stood in front of 1,600 people. The place was packed, and it was incredibly powerful. And as you'll hear from when I read Dereck's story with you tonight, Dereck shares his challenges, the obstacles, and what he's had to fight through to get to where he is today. And I have tremendous respect and appreciation for him and the other folks with JustUs. And obviously, a lot has changed since August of last year. But those changes and challenges have only highlighted the importance of this effort, these stories, and our continued push to improve the justice system. Obviously, we're living through a pandemic that's affecting all of us greatly. And I hope, again, that you're doing okay. But also, since the murder of George Floyd and others, we've seen nationwide cries for reforms of the justice system. We have to rise to and embrace those challenges, take it head on, and work to improve the justice system. So although I had the opportunity to join JustUs last summer and again earlier this year at the Dairy Center in Boulder, tonight in some ways feels even more special and more important. I'm so hopeful and inspired for the future. And when you read Dereck's story, I think you'll hear in his voice the strength that he had to use and rely upon to overcome great, great challenges in his life. And I would ask that at the end, we all feel inspired by Dereck's story for his strength and courage in sharing with us. So I'm going to turn now and begin reading his story for you. I didn't know what led me there. It was 2 a.m. and I was in my car parked across from the prison. I didn't know I was driving to the prison until I actually arrived. And I didn't know I was praying until I finally heard my own words repeating over and over, "Stay solid, stay solid." I've been out of prison for over 5 years, but it's easy to go back there in so many ways. I am not going back. But sometimes on the street, I'll walk by somebody and smell jail, and it's like I'm right back inside and I have to pull myself together. Most people who spent any time in prison, we never know. When we fall asleep, if our dreams will take us back. We wake up screaming and open our eyes, hoping to see that the nightmare is over. We were spat out from the belly of the beast back into the streets, but that beast is now inside our belly. And we do the best we can because you never know what the day will bring. I know I never wanted to be a gang member. I never wanted to be associated with drug dealing. I never looked up to that stuff, but I ended up putting my energy into the wrong person. In 2002, I was just out of high school working full-time at a computer store, going to college in computer science, when I got a call from this guy that I'd met in my early days. We met in commissary, bagging groceries when our parents were in the military, and we latched on to each other. We would go to parties together back in high school, and there would be times that he'd get into fights, and I'd fight his fights. I'd literally fight his fights. And not because I thought he was going to get beat up, but because I wanted to show him that you got a brother that's with you. You know what I'm saying? I guess I always wanted to be like my dad. My dad is intense. He'd fight you if you looked at him wrong. At the same time, he'd give everything to you. He was loyal and strong. He fought with his brothers, for his brothers in the Army. When my old friend called, I hadn't seen him for years. But when he showed up, we were right back with each other. Those are some of the best times in my life. We were inseparable, even dated women that were friends. And when he wanted some help with his business, I was all about it. I had the computer and accounting skills to make all the money from the drugs he was willing to sell. I wasn't planning on getting into his drug trafficking, but I turned my world from something legit to a throw off from my friend and, well, for the love of money. You hear all the time about how addictive drugs are, but we don't talk about how addictive selling drugs is. In that year, 2003, I went from ashy to classy, from counting my pennies to having rolls of hundreds in my pockets, from driving a 1988 Toyota Camry to driving a 2000 GMC Envoy, from being treated by the world like a nobody to a somebody. And I'm just coming out of high school. And there's no longer a teacher or coach asking good questions about what am I up to? Because they know you. They know you want to build something gracious. Do you want drugs to be involved? Hell no. I didn't want drugs to be involved because I knew it was harming people. But the money, it's just like the drugs. It's an addiction. And because I wasn't selling the drugs myself, I could put it behind me like, okay, I'm not going to worry about the people harming themselves. I'm going to make sure that me and him put our money in the right places where we're able to help invest in the community. So one morning, he calls and tells me that he's getting a little paranoid about the people he's meeting at the Walgreens parking lot. He thinks they're going to rob him. He says, "Can you cover for me?" I've been covering for him since we were kids. His fights are my fights. I was arrested, and in the process, I was shot by the police. And when I tried to run, they ran me over in their truck, and my foot got caught in the axle and almost pulled off. And then they handcuffed me on the gurney. And as I lay in my hospital bed, they interrogated me, trying to get information on him. They didn't care that I was in intensive care. I refused to say anything. And for that lack of information, they pretty much gave me the hammer. I thought by keeping silent, I was saving his life. I saved him and a number of people we worked with from going to prison. I took everything they were trying to charge everybody. I just took all those cases and put them on me, and all in the notion that if he was in that spot, he would do the same thing. It was only later that I discovered he set me up. The case was all on him, but he knew if I showed up instead of him at the Walgreens parking lot, they'd put it all on me. I was not charged as the accountant on a state drug case, but labeled a mastermind drug trafficker and sent to federal holding. And the fact is, I was guilty of hiding a major drug scheme. I had misplaced my loyalty and courage on the wrong person for the wrong ends, and I'd been lured into denial by money and the desire for a true brother. I had hurt people by selling drugs to my community. Of that, I was guilty. But why is it that I could be sent away for a decade on a nonviolent drug charge, and yet the DA and prosecutors who sent me into that prison of violence and assault are presumed innocent? Because they know what is going to happen to you in there. They know what is going to happen. I know nothing about surviving those environments or no damn prison politics. I didn't know anything about that stuff. But I did know if you come attack me, if you put me into the center of brutality and try to assault me, I'm going to beat the hell out of you. Not because I wanted to show off. I wasn't into violence for violence. I'm a basketball player, a college computer student. I'm just a man-to-man fighter. Do you know what I'm saying? But they sent me into that evil place, and it is crazy in there. 1 minute, there's a group of men standing in a circle, and then, damn, man, that man got his eye taken out. You know what I'm saying? He got hit with a lock and a sock. What the hell is going on in here? I don't want my head slammed into a concrete desk. I don't want to be raped. I don't want to kill nobody, but I don't want to be killed. Every chance I got, I was calling my mom, crying, like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I was on my own in the feds, no gang, no protection. So a few men tried to number me up, and they got me in a cell. I looked out at all of them. I said, someone's about to get hurt. Somebody's about to get messed up. But you know, one of them ran in on me, and by the time he ran, I did what I needed to do to survive. And if a corrections officer had not seen enough of what happened and had been willing to speak up for me and say it was self-defense, I would be in prison right now for attempted murder. And even though I was determined not guilty, the criminal justice system still took my innocence away because they put me in a position where to survive, I had to stab a man in the neck. And his blood was just pouring out of his body all over me, all over me. And it should be all over the judge, DA, and prosecutors, them too. And that is not the worst of it. That is not the worst. Do you know how much this system actually kills white, Black, Mexican people? Like, kills them mentally? You know, by being good kids, whatever, not really that much training, and they get sent to those evil environments on one mistake. And by sending them to prison, they've already killed someone. But the DAs, prosecutors, judges don't get charged for that. And it's not just the inmates. What do you think happened to the corrections officers? At one point, it was their first time seeing it, their first stabbing, their first rape. You watch the new ones, the green ones, how the longer they are there, the farther away they are from themselves. They become lost too. We're all locked up in the belly of the beast. And when you leave the beast, it's inside your belly too. And they point at you and judge you and say, look, that pit bull is dangerous. He bites. Look at his prison file. He's a monster. And they take no responsibility for throwing you into that pit. No responsibility. Well, I take responsibility for myself. What do I have to do in order not to lose myself or give them an excuse to send me back? And I pray for me and everyone in that prison. Stay solid. Stay solid. Because we are not their beast. We are unknown to them in mental capacity and ability to adapt. Deep inside us, we are sharp business owners, multitaskers, entrepreneurs, loyal brothers, and strong fathers. It is true, the beast we've been fed may be in our belly, and it is hard to control. But with the necessary amount of guidance, power, and love, our true spirit will emerge beyond its teeth. And that spirit is not impulsive. It is not reactive. It is our true purpose in broken pieces put together by experience. And it gets stronger by the day of new learning. Stay solid. Stay solid. I am praying. I am praying for you, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Dereck and Michael, and here's Spirit of Grace.
Take the pain away. I know He'll take the pain away. He'll take the pain away. I know He'll take the pain away. Though you've been searching for such a long time, searching for hope and some peace of mind, there's a friend who in on time. He'll take the pain away. He'll take the pain away. He'll take the pain away. I know He'll take the pain away. Oh, He'll take the pain away. I know He'll take the pain away. We love you.
And now, Motus monologist Daniel Guillory.
Hello, my name is Daniel Guillory, and I dedicate this reading to a very dear friend of mine who is still incarcerated. His name is Roy Van, and I have the honor of introducing Officer Corey Paz to read my monologue, and I'm honored by that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. I just want to say how humbled I am for you to entrust your story with myself. This is the second time that I've had the honor of being to be part of this Motus Theater. And I thought it was interesting. This morning I received an email that had a poem in it that I want to take a second to read, because it just summed everything up here of, I think, what we're doing here. It's entitled Empathy by Morgan Harper Nichols. It says, "Let me hold the door for you. I may have never walked in your shoes, but I can see your soles are worn. Your strength is torn under the weight of a story I have never lived before. Let me hold the door for you. After all you have walked through, it is the least that I can do." Wow. I dedicate this to Daniel, Dereck, and Juaquin for the amazing job they have done with this justice process here. I am a captain with the Estes Park Police Department, and one of the joys that I have is I'm able, one of the divisions that I get to oversee is our restorative justice program, which is absolutely an amazing program. So I'm very honored. So with that, Daniel, I'd like to start into your story here.
Good.
The last time I went to jail, I'd been there for about 18 months while I was fighting my case. I called my mom. "Yo, mama, you guys want to come bond me out?" She said, "Well, let me talk to your sisters and see if we can get up the money." And she talked to my sisters and they said, "No, Ma, he's up to the same thing. He's going to get out and go right back to the drugs. So we ain't in." But my mom said, "Well, I'm going to go get him." She went and got a loan and came back and got me. I was strong in my word and I meant what I said. I was done with crack. After my mom bailed me out, I went to pick up my car that had been impounded while I was in jail. Right before they arrested me, they had searched my car, tore it up. I mean, tore it up. I had a nice Cadillac and they pulled everything out of it that they could, but they hadn't found any dope in the car. I was finally arrested for what they had found in my house. I drove my car home and I was slowly putting the insides of it back together when I found a pipe under the front seat with a big old rock right next to it. And I'm thinking, did they set me up? I mean, they had searched my car up and down, even looked in my spare tire, and the dope was right there under the seat, just clear as day. I picked up that rock and that pipe and I put it in my pocket. I said, "No, I ain't gonna do it." But I didn't throw it away. I knew I should have just thrown it away, but I didn't. I didn't throw it. And later on that day, I broke it up and hit that thing. Boy, and Scotty beamed me up. Whew, as soon as I got beamed up, here comes my mom. I mean, as soon as I took a hit, not 20 seconds later, she came home and saw me. I saw the tears in her big old brown eyes and I said, "Mom, I bet if you had known this, you would have left my ass in there." She looked at me with tears in her eyes and she said, "No, baby, I still would have come and got you." Sometimes when I tell this story, it makes me weep, just recalling those words. "No, baby, I still would have come and got you." Oh my God, you could have kicked me or cussed me out, but that kind of blatant love makes me butt naked, raw and vulnerable. There's no defense. It makes you defenseless. Anything else I could have handled. Come on, bring it on. You're a liar, a failure, an addict, worthless, a criminal. That's all you got. Yeah, I could stand up to that, but love and grace will lay you out, butt naked, no clothes on. Oh my God, that's what made me differently, and the pivotal point that led me to be drug-free today. That's the thing that we got to convey to society. It's when a person is broken, messed up, and deserves love the least that it is when they need it most. And that grace is the thing that will give people the 360 right there. The key is helping people remember their importance, understanding their magnificence, and then investing in helping them reach their potential instead of punishing them. But the criminal justice system takes all of our shortcomings and faults and magnifies them. That's all they look at. They take the smallest part of us and make it the biggest part of our existence, when all this good stuff is sitting right there just waiting. It's dormant. It's waiting to grow, but it's not put in a right environment. And then instead, they send us down a dark tunnel into a place of violence at every intersection, a gladiator school where you learn how to place magazines around your belly in case someone tries to stick you. You learn to always step out of your pants if you sit in the toilet in case you are attacked. And when you act out in violence, they send you further down into a hole where there are no people, just overflowing toilet, rats, and isolation. If you drop an oak tree seed in a concrete world, it's still alive in there and vibrant, but it's not growing, it's just dormant. But if you take it from there and drop it in a decent place where there's enough sun, earth, nutrients, you don't even have to plant it. Just put it somewhere where it can possibly grow, and that thing would take off on its own. The fact is, all of us in prison are human beings who have committed crimes, but that is not our truth. We are not ontologically criminal. That is not our essence. And instead of helping us return to the full truth of who we are, the criminal justice system takes away our names, gives us DOC numbers, robs us of dignity, freedom, and happiness. And most of all, the potential to be our best selves that we could have been if somebody had tried to nurture us instead of neuter us. And how can it change as long as the justice system continues to lie about what it is doing to us? They give us a piece of paper that says the court is sentencing the defendant to incarceration for 10 years of rehabilitation and is fitted towards the sentence. Rehabilitation, my ass. There's no rehabilitation. When you send us to the Department of Corrections, you're making us more incorrect. There's not a sliver of corrections in that place. Those of us telling our stories as part of the Just Us project are fairly new to this whole idea of restorative justice. But we know that telling the truth and taking responsibility for the harm we have caused is a big part of it. And we have reflected as a group in our writing processes on that harm. But we are also asking that the criminal justice system itself to sit in a circle with us and hear the ways that we have been harmed, because it itself has been criminal in the name of justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel and Corey. Hear Spirit of Grace.
Daniel, every time I hear your monologue, I am so touched by the love that was shown to you by your mother, and how that love, that grace, that mercy, that peace, that patience was the thing that changed everything for you. It was the thing that changed your life. And I know that you are not where you started. You are so far from there, which is why you're able to inspire others. And so we thank you for your story. We thank Corey for reading it. And we just want to say that we recognize the love. We recognize, we feel the love. And we hope that others will turn and love their loved ones as your mother loved you. Because things like that are what actually make the difference.
Thank you to everyone who read a monologue tonight. You are a piece of something great and mighty. But few people really know what it means. brought me this far. I don't believe he 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 brought me this far to leave me.
Keep inspiring others, Daniel. We'll always be here for you.
Thank you so much to Spirit of Grace for really gracing us with your musical inspiration to keep moving towards justice. And thank you to the courageous monologists sharing their truth to transform the criminal justice system. And for the law enforcement leaders who modeled civic hospitality by deeply listening and reading the words of a person whose life was impacted by the criminal justice system. So I would love to start with the readers. Our law enforcement leaders, what most impacted you as you read aloud the Justice monologue today?
I can go ahead and start. I don't want to jump ahead of anybody, but I think for me, with all the stories, and certainly while I was reading Joaquin's, is just the courage, but I think the tenacity and the power to not let these challenges, you actually overcame them and made them special and made you more powerful and just made you beautiful in who you are now and with this great information to share. And this is a lot to take in. And I've been accused of some stuff, but it's never been being quick. And so I always have to digest things. But just how powerful and how much they overcame and how much they're willing to share and help now to make things better for everybody else, even in the face and the history of the ugliness that they had to endure.
I certainly agree. And I think Dave summed it up better than I can, but the courage and strength that it took Dereck, Daniel, and Joaquin to share their stories is remarkable. So as hard as it might be for me, Corey, and Dave to read their stories, I'm just struck by how incredibly difficult it must be for them to share their stories and what they've had to live through and endure and overcome. And overcome is the right word. I mean, they faced tremendous obstacles and challenges. And as we talk about criminal justice reform and what we need to work on in the justice system, each of their stories in such painful, personal fashion highlighted the changes we need to make in terms of collateral consequences, eliminating private prisons, improving the justice system, and improving the prison system. And their stories, in a way, capture those points better than any attorney or teacher or person could who has not lived the experience. And by them being willing to share their lived experience with all of us tonight and with those 1,600 people in Denver last summer, I think we all learn from it, and I feel inspired by it. And I'm really grateful. Thank you.
This is the beautiful thing with this, and with restorative justice. I'm going to speak of that because it's something that I know and believe in. Is restorative justice is based off high support and high accountability. And the beautiful thing about this is, I'm sure this is healing to a point to the three of you gentlemen that have done this, but more importantly is you are also helping and healing the community as a whole. And I think that is just absolutely amazing. And that's what this is about. This is the foundation of what this is about. And I could not be more proud to I want to say stand right next to you, but be in a little box somewhere close to you. The respect that I have for the challenges that you guys have had and for not giving up and for growing stronger and stronger, as David and Michael had said. So thank you guys very much. I really appreciate being able to be a part of this.
Thank you to all three for sharing your thoughts. I would like to ask the same thing of the Justice monologists. What most impacted you about having your story read aloud today?
I'll just go first, man. I appreciate Michael because, for one, being in the environment that I came from, you see the compassion, and you know the you can see the thoughts coming from someone's head, and like, man, you know, Derek's a good person. And you know, it's in this prison, man, those environments, you know, there's good and bad people, and that's just the harsh reality of it. Um, Go now to your question, it's amazing, you know, it's amazing to see the emotion coming from Mr. Dougherty's face. Like back in when we was in Denver at the Sheridan, yeah, you know, we really got the chance to know each other, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of weird, man, because at one point he didn't do it specifically, but to be sentenced from a DA and to have to do a sentence and to have to sit down next to a person, actually have a connection with that person, that's actually a pretty amazing thing if you run down the timeline. And you know, we have a mission to make, and it has to start somewhere. And I just appreciate the opportunity, I appreciate the platform, and I appreciate, you know, people like Mr. Guillory and Joaquin, because we've been able to grow tremendously, and of course with Motus, and giving us the opportunity to express ourselves. So, and of course the Spirit of Grace, and they're blessing us with your vocals and stuff. So it's just the whole situation is amazing. So I appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, it's had an enormous impact. Am I muted? Okay. For me, it's had an enormous impact to have a person of authority to really have compassion and feel me as a friend. And I think that's a very important aspect of the justice system, that you can't just treat everybody as numbers. There has to be a personal input somewhere in there, you know, where because everyone's different. And so you have to put personalities and treat people as individuals. You can't just blatantly lay a blanket out and blanketly sentence people to things. Before I forget, I want to give a fantastic shout out to the Spirit of Grace. All my girls, y'all do it like that. And once again, to support what Dereck said, as far as us coming to a place where we were vulnerable enough to express these very deep-seated personal feelings and just let them out in the open like that, it was an enormous process that took over a year to pull out of us. You know, and I just want to give a shout out to Kirsten for having the tenacity and the patience and the intelligence to bring those stories out of us as she did. And so this is just an incredible experience for me. And every time I'm involved in this, I'm just so encouraged and enlightened and strengthened. And I feel like, hey, I'm involved in something that is making a difference in others' lives. So with that, I'll close.
I just want to echo what both my colleagues and friends just mentioned. This is an amazing time. I'm grateful and gracious that we are all a part of this. And I don't know how they feel about this, but it just feels good to be on the right side of history right now. It really feels really good to be on the right side of history. A lot of things are changing, and I think that we have an influence on that. And it's so empowering to know that we are making that influence and we're helping that change so that America becomes a better place.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Absolutely. Thank you. We do now have a few minutes for audience questions for Juaquin Mobley, David Self, Dereck Bell, Michael Dougherty, Daniel Guillory, and Corey Pass. So you can go ahead and submit your questions to the Q&A feature, which is at the bottom. If I find them on the chat, I will also answer them if they don't get lost in there. Let's see, the first question is, to the readers, can you speak to how many others there are like you who would be willing to join an effort like this, whether it's in your units, departments, or areas of work? Are we letting the system run us and failing to see how many agree about the need for change?
I can go ahead and try and take that first one. I, I think I'm proud to say quite a few in my agency would be very, very anxious to help out, even being camera shy like myself. But I think that's really and here we're in a really good community here in Boulder County. Um, Specifically, I'm proud of Lafayette and the community we have here. And I think our department reflects that. Now, I'm not suggesting we do not have room to grow. And I know this has been a very difficult year for law enforcement. And we've earned some of that. Let's get that out there. But I think that my department, not just the division that I supervise, but I think through and through is very excited to participate in not just events like this, but many other forums. In fact, we started doing that earlier in 2020. So I think we're on the right path.
I would throw out that I think you'd be amazed how many officers across the state and across the country would be more than willing to be involved and are involved in movements like this. And you know, I'm very proud of our organization in that we've been doing restorative justice programs for over 16 years now. So it's definitely a wonderful thing, and I think it's an excellent question that you bring about.
I certainly agree. We're at a critical and important time, a juncture for criminal justice reform. And I think all three of us recognize that to truly protect the community, we need to improve the justice system and build more trust in the communities that we serve. And certainly, you know, this afternoon I was on a call with about 60 progressive prosecutors from around the country, all different states, who are engaged in various efforts to improve the justice system. So it's not just Corey, Dave, and me. I think we each have people in our departments, and certainly here in the DA's office, some of my staff are watching right now and they want to attend this event. And we're absolutely committed to improving the justice system and doing everything we can to address the inequities and the issues that have been raised tonight.
Thank you. And I do see a few questions about maybe some specifics of how, like what happens next for the change of the system. But before I go there, I want to give the monologists a question to answer that says, did you get to engage in restorative justice in prison or beforehand? Can you tell us about your experience with that?
Absolutely. After I got out of prison is when I really got to bear witness to the power of restorative justice. So much, it was so powerful to me that Senator Pete Lee's wife took me under her wing and actually trained me in restorative justice and how to facilitate it and how to really implement restorative justice circles and what that looks like. And as a result of that, I've been in several restorative justice meetings with youth, adults, and just seeing how it transforms the individual's life to become more productive and also take ownership and accountability for what they've done. More importantly, to map out and plot out their future in a whole different trajectory. So restorative justice, I didn't get to go through it initially, but after I got out and was released, I got to go through it and it was powerful.
Thanks, Joaquin. Daniel or Dereck, do you want to add anything?
You said in reference to, you said beforehand, the restorative justice, or what are we doing after?
Just what is your experience with restorative justice?
I was introduced to it when I came home. I always had thoughts of just being motivational to my younger crowd, because in this day we have a lot of older guys who still are in this mentality that hurts us, and we're just not in the time to where we can afford that. You know what I'm saying? So it's always been in my mind to motivate, to encourage, to inspire, and to always take advantage of your second chances. You know what I'm saying? Because if you do have the liberty to get a second chance, we have to look at somebody, and that somebody in my eyes is Joaquin. You know what I'm saying? So when I came home and and I started getting into, school, and I went back to college, and I got my degree. And while I'm trying to reintegrate into society, I got into music. And with the successes that has brought, Joaquin just came to me one day and said, "Hey, there's this class I want you to come into." And next thing you know, this platform came, and it's just brought a lot of happiness in my life, man. And it's just so encouraging, because this is something that I always see myself doing. You know what I mean? So on the streets, like, we do the community work. I mean, it's opened up so many doors. I can't explain everything. Like, it's like, counseling, and people looking at me as as a force now. You know what I'm saying? At one point, I was feared, and now I'm a person that people look at as on a respect level, musical level, business level, encouraging level, big brother level. So, I'm just going to do the best I can to restore our mind states. Then we properly go to the courthouse and see what we can do as leaders, together, and you'll see how we can work with the court, step by step by step. We can't do everything all at once, especially being with COVID and, this health scare going on. So just restoring the hope is something that I really take a lot of insight into. Yeah.
Well, for me personally, this is my first my first exposure to anything having to do with restorative justice, and I have to say that I am extremely encouraged because, as I stated earlier, I have never been in a situation where I had people of authority speaking on my behalf. And so that is an enormous thing that just opens my eyes, and it gives me incredible hope to see these people of authority speaking on my behalf, to walk in my shoes and to experience my difficulties and to have empathy towards me. And that's where it all starts. And I just want to commend these officers and these people of authority for taking a step and exposing themselves to this and having empathy and to feel these stories. And so that's where it all starts. And I just honor them and congratulate them once again for doing this on our behalf, and to have a sincere heart to want to have change in this system, at the very foundation of this system, to bring about change. So thanks again, gentlemen.
There are two questions that I think are similar that I'd like to combine. One of them asks, what is being done to shift from an incarceration approach for drug use convictions to a truer drug rehab approach, if anything? And the other says, where does drug rehab and mental health fit into the system? So I think perhaps we can sort of talk about the process of rehabilitation instead of corrections.
Well, once again, for me personally, when my mother gave me that grace pass, I mean, see, we're not talking about behavior modification. We've got to get where we get thought modification, where people begin to think differently. We can modify someone's behavior for a certain amount of time through punishment, and then once the punishment is over, they go back to the same behavior. But if we go to their head, to the way they think, and the only way we do that is by exposing them to things that they've never been exposed to, like this grace thing. My mom exposed me to something that I had never experienced. I always experienced punishment and put down for doing wrong things. But when she gave me that pass that I did not deserve, that clicked something in my mindset and made me start thinking differently. So I think the system has to get away from modifying behavior to modifying thought process. It's how we think determines the whole way we see the world.
I personally 100% agree with him. I think sometimes in court, it kind of it kind of feels like a masculine contest with the DA, and they go for corrections too easy. Corrections is too easy of a go-to now. You know what I'm saying? If it's rehabilitation, we need to come up, even if they can work with the community to come up with different plans and programs, even if it comes to fundraisers, because the drug use comes from stress, you know what I'm saying, which oftentimes leads to other things. Now, if they was in their right minds and stuff like that, their sober minds, a lot of these people don't go to crime. They don't go to, you know what I'm saying, with the criminal acts. You know what I'm saying? So we have to find preventative action. You know what I'm saying? And preventing the action a lot of times should not lead to incarceration. For the lowest like drug use cases, like it's just people go to jail for 1 to 2 years, and people like me who's been there will be like, "Hey, what are you here for?" You know what I'm saying? They say, "Man, I kept pissing hot. I kept pissing hot for UA." So you here for a hot UA, and then next thing you know, they may get stabbed in the neck because they got to be on some prison politics. So you literally took somebody's life basically due to the fact that he can't kick a drug addiction. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's somebody's son. You know what I mean? So that's where it gets ugly. So before it gets to that ugly part, we need to do something about that. Here.
From our officers, do you have any insights into drug rehabilitation and mental health and the role it plays in the system?
Well, I would say a couple thoughts come to mind. First, we should eliminate private prisons in the state of Colorado. Profit should have no role in the justice system. And to me, as long as we continue to rely on corporations who have every incentive to put the money in their pocket instead of rehabilitation, we're going to continue to fail as a state. It's one of the reasons that Colorado ranks in the bottom 10 in the nation in terms of people returning to state prison within 3 years. Roughly 50%, 50% of all people released from state prison are back within 3 years. And to me, that's a failure. We also rank 48th in the nation in mental health treatment being available in the community. And there are a lot of people struggling in the community from mental health issues, some of whom then end up in altercations or interactions with law enforcement and in the justice system. So we have some systems in the, or some programs in place here in the justice system, and law enforcement does as well. But people shouldn't have to hit the doors of the courthouse or the jail cell to get the help that they need. And we should be expanding, as we have in this office, restorative justice and diversion programs, and doing a far better job helping people from ever going to state prison, but also building up a system that focuses on rehabilitation as opposed to incarceration.
I guess I'd say, just to go off of what Michael's saying there, that we gotta keep in mind that, you know, we only have so many tools on our tool belt, and that's one of the beautiful things as these changes are happening, is we're seeing more and more tools that are getting put on our officers' tool belts to be able to help. And, you know, we have a mental health worker that is a co-responder at our agency that works 40 hours a week with us to respond to mental health issues as it, you know, as they occur, versus making it a criminal justice issue per se. So I think that, you know, this is really neat, seeing these new opportunities expand for those of us that are helping to, you know, wear the uniform and work the streets as well.
Thank you all for sharing your answers on that. I do see a lot of questions about, you know, maybe more specifically, what do we need to do next, right? Like, how do we get restorative justice broadened throughout our criminal justice system? What do law enforcement need to do? What do the rest of us need to do? Or are there other policies that we should be pushing for?
Yeah, I'd like to speak on that. I think we need to continue developing proactive policing. I think the state is starting to develop some policies along those lines. We also definitely need to get more community involvement in the whole process. And what that looks like is having community, local nonprofits in the communities that are most affected by over policing and violence. We definitely need to get them trained up, definitely get some leaders from those communities that are actually reputable, and come together, sit down, talk about it, and figure out what it looks like moving over into the new year, as far as how we're going to continue to develop these communities out. It's going to take a lot of proactive work, and we're going to have to make some preemptive strikes, and the time is now. So
I would just like to say that it's important that we keep in mind that restorative justice is much more than just simply a system. It's a culture. It is something that goes much deeper than, if subject A does this, then we'll put together a community circle. It is so much deeper than that. I believe that there's proactive things that can be done as well as the reactive things that can be done, and it's changing culture throughout. That is so vital as we move forward here with restorative justice. We use the term often that we want to get to a restorative community. To where it's just the culture, it's just what's expected, it's just this is how things are handled, versus how it is right now in the criminal justice system.
Thank you. There are so many questions, and I just want to say in advance that there's really no way that I'm going to get to all of them. But I would love to hear from the monologists. There's a question in here around what was the process that you went through to write such amazing and powerful monologues?
Kirsten. Yeah, it was. Much love to CB, to Astro, to Dub. Those were the other monologists that wasn't here. We were a combative group. We in the beginning we used to, it was a matter of, she used to be with the improv stuff. So in the beginning of it, we do breathing exercises, and we're like, I'm not doing that. Well, we ain't doing that. You know what I mean? And week to week, we looking forward to doing the corny stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, 1, 2, 3, then right before our performance, I actually have a video. We have the and we just clicked. We clicked because we built and we meshed, and we just like Brother Guillory said, that grace was going all through us, and it broke us all down. You know what I'm saying? And she was able to make a room full of people that didn't know each other and wasn't really cool with sharing a lot of information with each other, to be like, hey man, you know what I'm saying? What you do last week, man? Hey, come on, let's go. You know what I'm saying? And we built together, and then next thing you know, she says, hey, you're gonna be doing this in front of 1,600 people. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, all right. And it's just the relationship, man, and the time and the growth. And we really appreciate Kirsten because it helped me everything that I do on a 24-hour basis, period.
Yeah, getting our stories out like this was a very grueling process that she even went all the way back to our childhoods, from, when we were kids, talking about events that happened to us as very young children. And so through that process, we became a league of brothers. I mean, like Dereck said, we came in there we had our walls built up, almost like prison politics. I mean, that was born in us, and that's what we had become. And she gave us the tools to begin to break down these walls, where we were able to share our true selves of who we were, and to present ourselves vulnerable. And that's one thing that you could never do in prison, is to be vulnerable. I mean, you can't expose any type of vulnerability. And so that in itself, to be able to come to a place where I could take my mask off, put my shield down, put my sword down, and don't have to defend myself, and just really be vulnerable, and to be my true self. is enlightening, and so it's a beautiful thing, and it was a process that I consider myself fortunate and lucky to have been a part of.
Absolutely. Kirsten, hat goes off to you. Very powerful woman, taught me a lot, taught us all a lot. This process was a journey for me. I've never really been comfortable with public speaking, not because I'm scared to speak in front of people, but I always was so protected just because of the environment and being in prison for so long, with sharing a lot of my inner thoughts. I just never wanted people to understand or to have insight on what I was thinking, just from I guess, tactical perspective, right? But what she showed me was the power in this, right? The power of sharing my story and how I can actually do more good by speaking truth to power. So this journey was definitely an awakening experience for us. It showed us that there is no weakness in vulnerability. It's actually just growth. And we took it, we ran with it, and I think all of us became better men because of it. So thank you.
That's off
Thank
to
you.
Kirsten, man, because Kirsten, you changed our lives, man. So we really appreciate you, man.
Thanks, y'all. That was beautiful. I want to ask one more question that is a little bit more technical, and it asks, who is eligible for restorative justice? Is there a block against those with felonies? So all these men would not be eligible?
Well, I personally believe that restorative justice doesn't eliminate anyone. I mean, we still have to have justice. We still have to have sentencing. We still have to have those things. But we have to have them in a different manner where there has to be a place where you're not just a statistic. It has to become, somewhere or another, there's a relationship that has to be born in there. I mean, you can't, I know they teach them in law school that this is not personal, you got to go by this. And that's what got us in the place that we're at now. There has to be some type of personal influence put in there somewhere along the line. And that excludes no one. And this is a statement that I've come up with, my own statement of what I think restorative justice is unarmed truth cloaked in grace. Wow, that goes hard in the paint right there. So that's it for me.
Would anyone like to follow Mr. Guillory?
I would add just that it varies somewhat by jurisdiction. I can tell you here in Boulder County, we're really fortunate. We have some outstanding law enforcement agencies, and they have diversion programs. It's called law enforcement assisted diversion. And the ones that don't want to, it's a matter of resources. And I think we're heading in the right direction there. And I'm grateful to them what they've done, and they're leading in that area in the state. And then here in the district attorney's office, our restorative justice and diversion program, which has a 92% success rate. And for every one of those successes, we then dismiss the case. So the person doesn't carry with them the collateral consequences that you heard about from Joaquin's story. We actually do take low-level felonies into our restorative justice and diversion program. And I know that in the Department of Corrections, we have a new executive director for the state of Colorado, Dean Williams, and he's voiced strong support for developing more restorative justice programs in the prison system. So I think Colorado is heading in the right direction.
Thank you for your answer. Oh, go ahead.
I can speak just from our experience and our community. We've been able to utilize restorative justice from people from 11 years old all the way up to 86, from petty offenses, misdemeanors to felonies. The only time, and I think Daniel nailed it in his story when he said the ones that are not going to be successful in restorative justice are the ones that are unable to accept responsibility for the actions. And I think that's a huge piece to this, and to all three of you guys. Kudos to you for doing that. The other thing I would throw out is, you know, that's the other beautiful thing about restorative justice is it's going to be different everywhere you go. It needs to be developed, created by the community, for the community, and what that looks like. And if that is done, then I think you'll see great successes of what that happens. One of the things that we're able to do is we're able to do direct referrals. This is that more tools on the tool belt thing. So we don't even go to the courts. We don't even go to the DA. We're able to have our officers go directly and refer it directly to restorative justice before it even gets there. And so I think that's another opportunity for some agencies out there to think about.
May I just add one thing?
Yes, go ahead.
I know it's getting late. I just would like to add, and I've seen this, you know, some of us have been around longer than others, some not so long, but I've really noticed in the last 19 years, just a really big shift. And I hope it offers at least some comfort in this difficult time that the officers, the line level, right, the troops, they're excited about these programs. They're excited about restorative justice. They're excited about these diversion programs. You know, as you start making your way through the department and taking in leadership roles, you're not quite sure how things are going to be received. And I can tell you all with confidence, and not just here in Lafayette, I think all throughout Boulder County, and I have friends in a lot of jurisdictions, but more specifically, I can speak for, I think, for Boulder County. These communities have people, officers who are excited for these programs and to work with the district attorney's offices, the courts, whatever that looks like, because we understand the healing. And I think that's the culture and the climate that everyone's working towards.
Can I say one more thing? This wouldn't have been as impactful without the officers and without the district attorney, you know. And I mean, we spoke about this as a group. If we you know, I know it takes a lot, you know what I'm saying? I know it took a lot from Kirsten when she explained it to us. We have a whole lot of you know, love to y'all, because it wouldn't have been impactful, period, if it was just us talking about it or speaking about it. So to have the other side come from y'all, you know, schedules and from y'all jobs to come and make this like a forum, we appreciate that, man, because we have a long way to go, very long way to go.
Thank you, Dereck. And I think that actually opens us up for what's happening next. So I just want to let everyone know that Spirit of Grace is actually going to sing another song for us, and we're super excited. But as they get ready, I want to ask our monologists and our readers if you have any final words that you want to say to each other. And we'll sort of go in order. So we can start with Juaquin and David and then go from there.
I'm sorry, it cut out. Can you repeat that again?
Oh, absolutely. I was just asking if y'all had any final words you wanted to say to each other before we turn to Spirit of Grace.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, once again, I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of their busy schedule to sit here and listen to us. And I hope that this was a learning experience and that you take this information as a plan of action, and we go out there and we continue to change the world and creating the world that we want. Thank you.
Yeah, I echo that, and just an honor to meet you, Joaquin, and thank you so much for sharing that story. Humbled and really proud. I told you in the beginning, I kind of felt like this was going to be something that'll be special forever. And these moments that you get so blessed with, you know, in your career, these are the ones I'll remember and share with family and all that stuff. And again, I try and bring out think of the positive, especially in these difficult times. I know that's tough. It's been some contentious times and a lot of things we can't control and a lot of things we can, but this is definitely one we can control, and hopefully a good start for the, like I said earlier, the culture and the climate that I think we all want to work towards. And thank you all.
Dereck and Michael.
Just being a part of history, man. You know, this is just like Joaquin said, this is history. This is history. This is years of you know, not knowing, and families want to get involved and breaking down what the hell is going on in that courthouse, you know, and it's a both side thing. This is going to be big. I'm proud to be part of it. You know, me and Michael have spoken on multiple occasions, and you know, it was an honor to sit down with Michael and get an understanding from both sides. So, and everybody involved in it. You know, I give all the love to Kirsten as always, and everybody who took time out their day to listen to us, and of course, you know, the people who took the time to listen to us and our stories. You know, we truly appreciate it, and we're going to keep on, you know, having the mind to inspire and try to change some more lives.
And I want to thank Motus Theater and Kirsten and Tanya for bringing us together and making this possible. It really is an amazing experience to be a small part of it. And I really appreciate you, Dereck. You're an incredible person with a lot of strength and a lot of courage. And you open up and let me, the DA, in and share with me the most difficult things you've ever experienced in your life. And I can't tell you enough how touched I am, how privileged I feel, but also how motivated I am to continue working together and continue working to improve the justice system. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, man. It's all genuine, you know, saying so much more to come.
Definitely.
Daniel and Corey.
Well, Corey, this has opened my eyes to an incredible aspect that I personally have never experienced. Like I stated earlier, to have someone in a position of authority to not be a set enemy. I mean, because me and the police, when I was growing up, the police was the enemy. I mean, there was no love between my community, my neighborhood, and the police. The police represented, man, nothing but bad to us. And that has changed distinctly and very blatantly. And Officer Captain Corey Potts, you have a lot to do with that. And I just want to thank you. And you gave my story, you read it, you gave it honor. And I just really appreciate you and have an awesome amount of respect for you. So once again, thank you. And I've never said that to a cop before, that I respected them and was thankful for it. And I say that sincerely.
Daniel, that means the absolute world to me. I can't tell you the amount of respect that I have for you, the battles that you've fought and the battles that you've won, and more importantly, the battles that you're continuing to fight and moving forward. If there's one thing that I learned, you know, this is the second time I got to do this, and the most important thing that I walk away with is everybody has a story. And it's incumbent upon us to understand that and honor that. You don't always have to agree with it. You don't always have to do this or that, but you have to understand that everybody has a story, and they deserve the respect and the honor to be able to have that. And I thank you for allowing me to share part of myself with you in this story. And good luck to you in the future. And if you ever need anything, Kirsten's got my info. So feel free to reach on out there. Okay.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you all. And now I would love to welcome Spirit of Grace.
Spirit of Grace, yes.
Hello. Thank you for having us. We are so honored to be a part of this. To Daniel, to Dereck, to Joaquin, we want to just emphasize that it takes a certain amount of courage to achieve the level of honesty that you have achieved, and it inspires everyone. It inspires anybody who's listening right now. It inspires us, Spirit of Grace. It inspires law enforcement. And on that note, I'm going to pass the mic to my sister.
I want to say to Corey, to David, and to Michael, hearing you read those monologues, it was really life-changing, especially Michael, because you all connected with the monologists, and as Black women, I don't see very many of them right here on the panel, but as Black women, we just want to say that it's very important to us that you hear the voice of our sons, our husbands, our fathers, our brothers, and that you do the necessary thing to make the change that is going to make it fair, that's going to make it equal, that is going to bring across the change that we need as Americans. You know, people always ask us, they say, Chrissy, what is your nationality?
My nationality is American and my race is human.
That's right. And what's your race?
That's all I got, human.
That's right.
That's all I got.
We're Americans and we're humans. And for the three of you to read those monologues, I feel like we've gotten closer to that.
Thank you.
That we've gotten closer to just being together and to being one another. And so this last song is dedicated to the cause. It's dedicated to fighting. It's dedicated to meaning it. It's dedicated to saying that we will no longer stand for injustice, but we want everything to be right. And that's what we're fighting for. And I hope everybody watching, everybody listening understands that this isn't about Black, it's not about white, but it's about love and equality. If Daniel's story hasn't taught us anything, it's about love and equality. And so I'd like to say, one thing we did right was the day we started to fight.
Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
Justice is its name. It's gonna be our claim to fame.
Your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
Don't give up, but hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Well, you read your monologues, and Spirit of Grace gon' sing your song. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. You have told your truth, and we don't need no proof. Just keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Don't give up, no. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Keep telling your story. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on.
Bravo! We love y'all too.
Sending some virtual love to Spirit of Grace. Thank y'all so much. And we're now at the end of our show. I just want to say that on behalf of Motus Theater, we want to thank our Motus monologists, Juaquin Mobley, Dereck Bell, Daniel Guillory, our guests, Commander David Self, District Attorney Michael Dougherty, and Captain Corey Pass, and of course, Motus's powerful contributing artists, including Motus Theater's artistic director, Kirsten Wilson, and singers Spirit of Grace.
Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, we will send you a video of this event along with a survey so you can give some feedback to Motus Theater. Please contribute if you can and schedule your Colorado Gives Day gift from Motus. Those of you joining us on Zoom will have your emails added to our mailing list so you can join us on future performances. And that's it for us. We appreciate you spending your evening with us and expressing civic hospitality by listening deeply to the experiences of our Justice monologists. With heart and gratitude, let's work together to revision justice in our country.
Woo! Though you've been searching for such a long time, searching for hope and some peace of mind, there's a friend